to speak loud and clear, because it goes on Kol HaLashon. And try to think, also be short.
Okay, what's going on with Islam?
Good morning, everyone. To continue with any questions, and then with the insight into counting the Omer.
Yes. So what's going on with Islam today? You've mentioned many different facets. So my question is, going back in history, was this prophesied by any of our famous commentators? Also, you read about the war of Gog and Magog, the coming of the Mashiach, what's going to happen, there'll be turmoil in the world. Is that all related to what's going on today with Islam?
Without a doubt.
Right, okay. So in other words, which individuals prophesied that this would happen? What's going on today?
I'll tell you a statement which some greatest scholars of the last generations have often repeated. We know that one of the greatest geniuses ever on the horizon of mankind was the Gaon of Vilna. His greatness in his time was enormous. I mean, he mastered the sciences, which were known at that time. He mastered every aspect of the oral tradition, both the open and the hidden ones. And I'll tell you what he said concerning the three wars of Gog and Magog. He said that the third level, the three levels mentioned in the Midrashim, you could even say they're mentioned in the verses of the Torah. For example, in the Hallel, which we say, when Am Yisrael expresses through the prophetic songs of David HaMelech that we say Min HaMeitzah Korosiko Ononi B'Me'achavko. That's how the Tehillim start in the Hallel. I call to Hashem from deep troubles, and Hashem has answered me with enormous weight. And then there follows Kol Goyim Savuni. It's the in the name of Israel. All the nations surround me. B'Shem Hashem ki amilam. I will cut them off in the name of Hashem. Sabuni gam savuni. They surround me and again surround me. B'Shem Hashem ki amilam. I will still cut them off in the name of Hashem. Sabuni chidavorem. They surround me like bees. Dichistani ka'esh kotzim. They push me away with thorns and thorny bushes which have gone on fire. B'Shem Hashem ki amilam. I will nevertheless cut them off in the name of Hashem. So first of all, these are referred to as the three levels when the people of Israel are a lamb caught by 70 wolves. We're surrounded by the nations of the world. Gog and Magog has a numerical value of 70. It's a reference, and clearly that's the meaning. If you look through the verses concerning Gog and Magog and the battles, both in the book of Yechezkel and in the book of Daniel and the book of Zechariah. So they speak about these wars, and that ultimately the people of Israel will survive. The question is, okay, all the nations surround us, yeah, want to destroy us. It's happened a few times. But the third one, what do you mean they surround us like bees? What type of metaphor is that? The answer is, and that's what it hints at the Chumash, we went into all the details, the bees, well, you tell me. Why is the most severe aspect, this building up of the wars against the people of Israel, when they're surrounded like bees?
They're like suicide bombers.
That's it.
When a bee stings on purpose,
That's the answer. A bee, when it stings, it dies. And similarly, it's what it hints at. Chumash, we don't know, but this is what it meant. The last level, the nation, the world was around us with a type of battle which you can't win. Suicide bombers. What the bees do? The bees, they want to sting, even if they die. Yeah, that's part of their nature, their function. And that's gone into the mentality of the present situation. This is the greatest danger. Everyone is terrified. What happens when these terrorists, suicide bombers, get hold of non-conventional weapons? They're maniacs and they believe in death and they think death brings the greatest happiness. They're slaves to the concept of death, addicted to it. And they teach everybody. They teach children that from babyhood upwards. And if most of us wear blinkers, yeah, we don't know what's going on, but the nuclear storage of weapons that do mass killings is growing all the time. Terrible. And we have such leaders today who just are blind to it. Leaders of the nations, unfortunately. You don't even oppose it properly. I mean, what has been done now by the Western world and Obama to permit Iran, who are the ones who are supporting suicide bombers indirectly. Hamas are preparing a dash, that's what they're preparing all the time. And now Europe is, Americans have to tell all its citizens in Europe, don't go to any places where there are crowds, in the restaurants and other places. Don't go to these places because Daesh, they're out to do things like that. It's a very serious situation. And now, anyway, the Vilna Gaon came up with something else. He said the three levels of the war of Gog and Magog, which represent two worldwide wars that are all involving the people of Israel as their sometimes their open target and sometimes their hidden target to get rid of them from the map of the world. The last war will take 10 minutes, not more. Well, it's becoming, unfortunately, it's the latest threat. And it's a threat which is backed by so much publicity and propaganda that it's even been put on their missiles. Death to Israel. That's put in Persian also, as well as in other languages, on their missiles. And the latest threat is from the actual leaders of Iran that they can wipe Israel from the map of the world in 8 minutes. Yeah. So we're living in this age. It's unbelievable. We're in this time. And people are losing sight of the fact that the human species, if you wipe away the divine image in mankind, in human beings, you're wiping away the human race. So, but we see Hashem, we see miracles. We live on the basis of miracles. We say, in something alanes, you shouldn't really allow miracles. So of course, we have to have an army, no question. But we've got to know, and fortunately, our army is in fact on the highest moral level of any army in the world. But, even it says in all the prophets, that you will be, it says, in the Chumash, the nations will demoralize you, will degrade you in all their propaganda. They'll say, it says in the Prophet, they'll say they're the worst people in the world, which we are not. But that's the name we're getting, and that's the name which is prophesied. If we ourselves don't make enough Kiddush Hashem, our task is to make Kiddush Hashem, even in the most severe circumstances. And yesterday we discussed the question of the Holocaust. So I will tell you, which I think is one of the greatest Kiddush Hashem ever. It's a good illustration. It was told to me by someone who witnessed it, the late Rabbi Chaim Gutnick, who went through the Holocaust, and after he became the Av Bezdin of Melbourne, and I heard him describe this. He said he was present when the Nazis in the camp, and which death camp it was, he took out a religious Jew, and he said, "Listen, you Jew, I know that you say a blessing every day that God did not make you a non-Jew. Now in your situation, when you are being gassed and killed, and we're being tortured non-stop by ourselves, Deutschland über alles, Germany is up everything else, and we are now greater than you, can you still say that blessing?" So the Jew said, yes, he said the blessing, first in Hebrew, translated into German, in English, the following word. He said, "Blessed are you, O God, the King of the universe, who has made me a Jew, who follows your will, and not those evil people who have destroyed their divine image and who are trying to destroy the conscience from the world." I'm just adding a few words to what he said. But this was... And I'm proud of the fact that I'm not a murderer like you are. I'm not cruel like you are. So I'll say this blessing now with greater understanding than ever in my life. Of course, then he tortured him and killed him. That's the Kiddush Hashem. And that is the message of the Jewish people. You can torture us and twist us and so on, but we are greater than those goy. It's quite true. There are many Gentiles, Shlosani goy, who nevertheless reach the level of fulfilling the No-Chad Code. That's something else. They join with the Jewish people. They support us. They support what we stand for. But you're destroying the human being. That's it. Okay, any other questions?
No. Does a bee know that it's going to die? Does a bee know it's going to die when it stings?
That's the root question.
Look, at the level of knowledge that bees possess, when I was a youngster, I once read a brilliant book which describes the life of bees. There are different types of bees. Queen bee, and there's the worker bees, and they work according to a fantastic system. It's all functional. They have no free will. But it's likely, according to the level of knowledge which the different species, different types of bees in their organization possess, you can call it, not knowledge on the human level, but functional knowledge. They work according to certain principles. Whether they know what's going to happen one minute to the next is not so simple, but it's all organized. The beehives don't allow bees to just be individuals. They're part of a social setting, which is fantastic. One sees there I've forgotten the name of the book. It's the classic on understanding the great wisdom that is shown in the organization of bees. So, whether today, according to more modern discoveries, one has been able to analyze to some extent which way their motivation works. It's not. There's a saying of the sages, man was created B'Tselem Elokim, also means, and it's mentioned in Midrashim, that the human mind is able, through the great gift that Hashem has given human beings, to recognize that many different aspects of the animal world are incorporated in certain ways in the human mind. So there is a possibility with the human mind to understand more and more. And as science progresses, I've read a book when I was a youngster also on the way in which ants organize their society. And it's, there's so many fantastic things that we see around us that are unbelievable. You see all the pigeons around, the way birds work. It's every part of nature is so fantastic and shows the way in which Hashem's presence, the mind of the universe, goes all the way through every aspect of the world that surrounds us and reaches the pinnacle in the human being. So what the human being is destroying everything. They're destroying themselves and destroying their own environment as well today. That's it. So we have to, this is part of the purpose of people of Israel, to enable mankind to experience the greatness of the world created by Hashem. And when we say the Psuke Zimra in the morning, it contains hints to all these marvels. Just the song of the natural world. And that's, there's an old text called Perek Shira, the chapter that deals with songs. The songs which are sung by the plants, the trees, the fish in the sea, and the birds of the air, and the mammals on the land. And then they give, even for each mammal, they give a different song. The song of the universe. That's part of Tehillim. Tehillim, most of the psukim come from Tehillim, but also from other psukim in the Tanakh. The Torah is called a Shira. So through living Torah, the whole of life becomes a song. They've often explained Rav Hirsch's brilliant interpretation, Namaseach B'Gilot Mizmor Shir, which is the introduction to some of the Tehillim, and refers, Lefi Peshuto, on the simple meaning, to the conduct of the fantastic symphonies which were sung in the Beit HaMikdash, which required a conductor, and they required a choir to sing, and musical accompaniment. It said even they used to have so many different instruments and instrumentalists, and then the poetry, the poetic aspects which came out in the words of the music. These are the four levels of those who contributed to the symphony of Tehillim, and this represents the symphony of the universe. The universe also. Hashem is the conductor, and He has given all nature many different beautiful songs to sing, and the people of Israel, we have to provide both each one with his own voice, and also the nations of the world. 70 nations of the world represent the harmony which exists amongst all the nations of the world when they want to work together. Each nation will participate in this song, some with their voice, some with their instruments, and some with their poetry. And that's the purpose of the Torah, to transform the world today, which is chaotic, which is in a situation of such lack of direction, where human beings are drowning, disappearing from their human image, even if they exist in body, and it can all be changed over by Am Yisrael serving Hashem with our Torah. And even if we don't today have the Beit HaMikdash itself, we've got the Tehillim, we've got the path of life in the Torah. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes.
You had mentioned the second bracha about not making me a Gentile. At the translation, at least, of each one of the other brachas, any person of faith can say the same thing. Christians, Muslims, Sikhs, Baha'is, whatever they happen to be. Just change the second one, who has not made me a Jew. And any person of any faith, particularly who keeps the Noahide codes, can say the same brachas.
What do you refer to?
Without
What's your
saying
question?
it in Hebrew, just
Huh?
saying it in
What
that
is your
particular
question?
language.
What's the question?
What is the question?
The question is it exclusive to Jews?
To say Shiloh Asani Goy.
Without that second bracha, can any person of faith say all the other thank yous, all the other blessings?
I would say anyone can say it. But what will the Ger Tzedek, it certainly is part of the Jewish people, and the Ben Noach, who keeps the Noachide code, can say Shelo Asani, or might say Asani Ben Noach, or you can say Shelo Asani Kamo Ha-Ovdei Lilim, or Ha-Eli Shem Lo B'nei Noach. Say the same. You should say the same bracha. I bless Hashem in our time that He made me a Noachide, that He made me someone who believes in Hashem, who gave mitzvahs to let us say, Avraham Avinu. What did he say? If he kept the whole Torah, that's a deeper level. He probably said also, I praise Hashem that I became a believer in Hashem, and I'm able to spread the Noachide code. And that's what there's not an official Musaf been made, but there have been Sidurim made for the Noachides. You know that some of the Christian synagogues in America have become Noachide synagogues. They also make prayers and so on. And the text, certainly they can say all the other things, you know, and they can certainly say this bracha with perhaps a slight change in the wording. I would say, let's say, some of the Hasidia Umat HaOlam were also persecuted by the Nazis, and even killed by them, many of them, who sided with the Jews and tried to help them. They can also say the bracha. They can also say it didn't make them like you. You think you're the greatest super race and super nation in the world. You're not. We who believe in God who gave His teachings to Noach. And Noach is the father of mankind. We are loyal to him and to his path of life, adopted by Avraham Avinu, called the son. The level of Avraham, Yitzchak and Yaakov was the same. They weren't a separate people. They were basically Noachites. Say the same thing. We're proud to be part of this heritage. Okay, now I do want to go to some extent, just a few minutes we've got left, to go to, if you look at the Siddur, because all these things are interrelated, but let's speak about how it's related to the present period of counting the Omer. So in these Siddurim, you may have your own, it's very good. If you don't, it's on page 149. So it says at the bottom of page 149, please have it in front of you, unless you know it all by heart. We say, well, there's a prayer which is said by some, I'm hereby prepared to fulfill the positive mitzvah of counting the Omer. Because it says in the Torah, Utzvatem lachem mochorat Shabbat miyom aviachem et Omer sufa. It says you should count for yourselves from the morrow of the Shabbat, from the day when you bring the Omer which is waved. Sheva Shabbatot motiena, there should be 7 perfect Shabbatot. Ad mochorat Shabbat Ashvit, until the morrow of the 7th Shabbat, Tisbru Chamishim Yom, you should count 50 days, V'kraftem mincha chadasha Hashem. And then you should serve a new offering to Hashem. This is a verse from the Chumash upon which we base counting the Omer. And on this, I want you to, here, I've got a larger print. I gave these out before, let's give them out again. Here. Give these out. Give those up. So I'm going to give you now the comments of Rabbi Tzadok, who, as I explained, gives us links from the Chumash throughout Jewish tradition, how to explain this mitzvah. So, why 50 days? So the Zohar says, this is similar to the counting of the woman who has menstruation, who has to count 7 days. They're called Shiva Nekiyim, 7 days when there's no sign of any blood. The blood is impure. There's no sign of any blood, and she counts each day in order afterwards to have marriage relationship, which is the basis, even until today, of the constant renewal of love within a Torah marriage. So similarly also, similarity here. Without now going to the details of it, we can say, in the background to all this, parallel, but the general principle which applies also today, in that, let's say, when people become engaged, they have to learn the laws of family purity. And then the Kala, especially, has to learn all these laws and has to fix the date of the marriage at a time when she has become purified and goes to the mikvah, and then afterwards the marriage is on a different level. And in some places, like also here in Israel, the rabbinate, they would like that before they marry a young couple, they should bring a note when Kala's been to the mikvah. Similarly also, and carry the similarity through a bit, to understand the significance of counting the days from the exodus from Egypt until the time when Am Yisrael received the Torah, is also compared to the most romantic period in a person's life, which is between the engagement and the marriage. Especially it's romantic amongst those young couples who perhaps have restrained their natural instincts entirely when they become engaged, and then they look forward emotionally, physically and spiritually to the time where they have a complete unity of body, feelings and conscience, the inner soul, with their soul mate and with their physical mate. It goes together. So therefore the joy of the marriage is sometimes in accordance with the extent to which the young couple have prepared themselves. And the romance is very great. And that is the explanation some people give. Similarly, why do we count the Omer? To express, as also mentioned by the Chinuch, when we started this series of Shiurim, that the mashal given by the parable given by the chinuch is like a person is in a prison and he's counting the days till he's freed. Another comparison brought in all the midrashim is like a young couple who become engaged and they count the days, each day being to some extent nearer and nearer to the wedding day, and the excitement increases, the suspense increases till the time of the actual marriage. Similarly also Am Yisrael, they count the days. And the usual answer also that's given to the question, so why do we start counting 1, 2, 3, 4? Normally you'll find a couple, if they've got a calendar there, they put on the date of the wedding, and then they might even tick off all the days and say, oh, it's 49 days until the wedding, 48 days, 47 days. Yeah, that's how you would count. So why do we, if that's the comparison, why when Am Yisrael became engaged to Hashem, which was he took out from Egypt, and became married to Him, which is the day when the Torah was given, and the parable is even stronger because many customs of the marriage go back to the giving of the Torah. Like Kafalem Haka Gigit, if you know what they put the mountain above them, like a barrel, that's the chuppah, and the lights that the two couples who are accompanying the bride and bridegroom, they carry lights to correspond to the lightning that came when the Torah was given, the fire that was on top of the mountain, and the ketuvah is symbolically represents the giving over of the Torah to the people of Israel, and so on. So many of the customs of the chuppah, they are paralleled by the giving of the Torah. Similar to this also, on Pesach, it's customary to read the Song of Songs, which is a song of love, which is an expression of love, very poetic, and very romantic, even with very aspects of the human instincts and even the physical aspects of the relationship between a loving couple, which is all a parable to the relationship between Hashem and Am Yisrael. Hashem loves us. He became engaged to us with Exodus from Egypt. That was the engagement. And the marriage took place on Har Sinai, when He took us as His people. So therefore, to carry now in the second line here, Sfirat HaNidim B'tumas Mitzrayim. In Egypt, we were engulfed and almost drowning in the purity of Egypt. So therefore, for this we need Zayin Pamim Zayin, 7 times 7 purifications. Ki Ba'alil Haaretz. It says, Mezukach Shivatayim. The Torah is compared to silver, which is purified 7 times 7 times. Because we know that a rough ore of silver, when it's mined, needs a lot of purification. It has to go through furnaces, and the more you purify it, the purer the silver becomes. So it says, the Torah of Hashem for Am Yisrael is like silver, which is purified 7 times 7 times. 7 times 7, the way it is in the days, brings us to 2,000, as I've already explained before, 2,450, which is really, according to the reckoning, that's the chronology of the creation of the world as it's described in the Chumash till the giving of the Torah. Therefore, the 7 days of the week, the 7 times 7 days leading to the 50th day of the giving of the Torah, and then that multiplied by 7 and again brings us again to 7 years. And 7 years, 7 times brings us to Jubilee. That's how you get to 7 times 7. Zayin zikukim to zayin pamim. But here he refers to it more as removing all traces of impurity, like a woman, a kala, who has to have the 7 pure days before she can have the fullness of a loving relationship with the chosom. So he says, Zikuk aket nikl lakol. He says like this: when it's been purified so many times, 7 times 7, or 7 multiplied by itself 7 times, that's really what Shivatayim means. If it's just purified once, Zayin Pamim, it is purified, Aval ein galui l'chol urat. Everyone who sees it can't see it yet. Then when the Torah was given, which was the ultimate level of the revelation of God to the world, which had never been existent before, because he revealed himself to 3 million people, then it required a zikuk, purification, which was revealed to everybody. That's why it needed. Shivatayim, he translates, is enough 7 times 7 times, 49 times, in other words, is enough. But the truth is, other commentators say, Shivatayim is even more than that. So but he said, 7 times 7 is the intensification of the Kala, Am Yisrael, to be prepared to receive the Torah on the 50th day, revealed to everybody. And this is what this Zeo Gamken in Shemitah v'Yovlot. The Shemitah and the Jubilee year transfers this concept from the people of Israel to the land of Israel. In other words, the people have to recognize it as each one his part in establishing Klal Israel, the nation of Israel, to sanctify the name of Hashem. Even wherever we are in the world, even in everyone's land, and Sinai at that time was no man's land. No man's land is everyone's land. So therefore it's open to all the nations. But then afterwards they were to demonstrate it in the land of Israel. How to demonstrate it in the land? Through Shemitah and Yovel, the same concept, to sanctify the land. The land wants to be sanctified, it wants to be the land of Hashem, the land of the people of Israel. And this also, by the way, is been proven in history. Whenever, since the giving of the land to the people of Israel, at the beginning, when the people of Israel were in the land, it blossomed. Especially at times when the people fulfilled the will of Hashem. But then, when Hashem did not want the people to disappear, so we were banished from the land, the other nations could never make this land filled with blessing. And even in more recent times, it's well known, anyone who reads Mark Twain on his journey to the land of Israel, the way he describes it as being just desolation after desolation, here and there little spots of agriculture, but soil erosion covering nearly the whole land. Oh, today it's a blooming land. People come to this land from other nations to find out how to irrigate the fields. Because what has been responsible for the resurgence of Muslims' claim on this land? When we weren't there were also Muslims here and there, but it wasn't blooming in any way. The economy didn't work. But they said, oh, now it's working hard. When Jews come back, it's fantastic. It's almost miraculous. So therefore, let us take it. And what happens when we gave it to them? What did they do with it? Gush Katif was probably one of the most flourishing agricultural and industrial places in modern Israel. It was beautiful. So, you know this, and Jews hoped, they said, okay, we'll give it back to you. To do what? To bolster Palestinian economy. They live in slums, they've got no work, they've got no organization, so we gave it to them. And even many Jews invested gave money to the Palestinians, go and build up Gaza. I mean, Peres especially was the president of Israel. He built up, straight when they gave over Gaza, he built up funds from Jews, of course from Gentiles also, to help the Palestinians in the economy. And instead of that, they made a shooting ground against the people of Israel, that's all. And broken everything that was working there before. So in other words, the land is there for the Jewish people. And the Arabs, certainly, if they will fulfill the Noachide Code, fantastic. That's part of the original plan. When Hashem said, go into the land of Canaanites, the Canaanites were worse. What they did in Moloch worship, I think, were terrible. And their loose, their permissiveness, their immorality, and their corrupt idolatry, and their murder of innocent people was terrible. He said, they have to leave. He says, when they reach the fullness of what they deserve, they have to be banished. And he wanted the people of Israel to conquer them, also to get rid of their society, which is based upon evil and upon the worst criminalities, in order to establish a Torah organization in this land, to make sanctification in the name of Hashem. So we see that in our time also we've got the same problem. If only especially after the 6-Day War, the general spirit of the Muslim population in the land was, very good. We'll help the Jews to build up. And they did. And there were good relationships. But it's been poisoned by the Nazi spirit, which became part of the Mufti of Jerusalem, was a partner with Hitler in every way possible. And he's the one, in fact, who worded the manifesto of the destruction of each Jew, and he prepared death camps here in Israel for every Jew in Palestine. And unfortunately, it's continued since then. I mean, even before Hitler came to power in 1929, he massacred a whole yeshiva, Hebron yeshiva. Previously, why did the yeshiva from Lithuania, the top yeshiva of Lithuania, came to make a branch in Israel? They decided, we'll do it in Hebron. Why in Hebron? There was fantastic relationships between Jews and Gentiles. And the religious leaders, they welcomed them. They were best friends with the Rosh Yeshiva and the rabbis. Already there was an element, even then, of stirring up trouble, but the majority were fine. Came the Mufti of Jerusalem, made a massacre in Jerusalem, and made a massacre of a whole yeshiva in Hebron. That's why the yeshiva today is still called Hebron. Now it's the Givat Mordechai, one of the biggest yeshivas in the world. A fantastic yeshiva. Yeah, I was privileged to learn there as a bocher. And I still met some, in the yeshiva they came also to pray, some of the survivors of that terrible massacre. So that's before Hitler came to power. And then he went to Berlin to work with Hitler to destroy all the Jews in the world, and especially in Palestine. And through that was his downfall. That was the downfall of Hitler. Because he told Hitler, listen, you're working on the Eastern Front against the Russians, trying to expand there. But you're forgetting, I become your partner on condition you destroy all the Jews in Palestine, and I've prepared also my followers who say that the Quran says you've got to make a yichud, destroy all the Jews, and you're not helping me. Send your best army to go through North Africa and to Sinai. It was then under the British mandate, but your army is stronger, and they were much stronger. But there were miracles that occurred, because in the Sinai desert, the German army, they broke down. Not because of the strength of Montgomery, who was then in charge of the Mandate Army, who also had a Jewish brigade, which had cousins of the Jewish brigade fighting against them. But they were no power against Rommel's, the biggest army, the strongest army of Hitler. that he diverted from the Eastern Front, what happened? If there was a miracle. Everyone agrees it was a miracle. Because in the Sinai desert, they had drinking water pipes in order to sustain the army. They had to have drinking water. And by a certain technical error, instead of drinking water, the pipes had seawater. They didn't realize it. So nearly the whole army had dysentery. And therefore, they had to retreat. Muslims came, they had dysentery, they couldn't fight. They were all sick. That was the beginning of the retreat. Because in Palestine, and also in other parts all over the world, they made a 3-day fast, 3 days of prayer. Hashem had Rahmanas. So that was really the first step on the sliding slope to the destruction of Nazi Germany. So that's it. The Smitten of Yovlot. That because the land is also holy, the land is dedicated to the people of Israel. So it's great. So we're in a very important period. We are the ones today, Baruch Hashem, back in the land of Israel. And we have to spread the name of Hashem. And you know, I can't but help it that I see that the return of religious parties to the government is helping, has been supported by the others, and some of them begin to see that the stability of the people of Israel depends upon their connection with the God of Israel. I think Netanyahu also is beginning to realize it, because he is beginning to use the name of Hashem more regularly. And the more that we do this and work in that direction, and we've got to also, not just a question of saying the name of Hashem, but living accordingly, making Kiddush Hashem. Otherwise we can't change people with sticks and stones. Don't really change them. You've got to change them with moral examples. So each one of us has got to be a living Mekadesh Shem Shamayim to Jews and to non-Jews. So let us hope we'll go in that direction, and thereby, through more Kiddush Hashem, that will usher in the other parts of the prophecy, which you referred to in your original question. The true Messianic age, the recognition of who's the true Mashiach.
Thank you very much.
I would be grateful that even today, I think I'll go a bit too long. Now the share of Rav